Oh, I got it the wrong thing. Here we go. This is what I wanted to add. All right, here we are. Can we hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Care about
All
me?
right.
Sounds
I've
good.
been having microphone problems, and so
That's
I've
good.
been playing with new mics.
For sure.
But we are here. We're back. It's but wait, there's more, and trust me, there's plenty more. We
There's
got
always more.
done talking about Elizabeth Holmes last week, but the scammers, they just don't quit. They don't. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how you punish the last one and say, listen, don't be a baddie. Somebody still becomes a baddie, and so we got someone who decided instead of to use her powers for good, she got greedy. But I'm Des Hickson, and who are you? Who's my special guest? Always.
I'm Joy Turner, of course. I call myself, I'm a former police officer, but right now I'm calling myself an amateur detective because I am always on the case. That is for
Hey,
sure.
I like that. I like that a lot. All right.
Of course.
So before we get into the nitty gritty, we're going to go ahead and throw in a disclaimer, and then we're going to get started. This one's going to be a quickie, guys, but it's going to be well worth it. And there we
It's
have it.
I
Let's
started
roll.
kind of dance.
I know it's groovy. I love it. Um, oh my goodness. So I got to start this with a question, right?
Mhm.
Because while I was doing my research for this YouTube this live tonight, all I kept thinking of, what the heck is going on at Forbes magazine,
And
right?
you said you asked me earlier what they all have in common. I was
What
like,
do these people have in
"What,
common, Joy?
white?" I mean, no, that's not it. No, that's definitely not it. But you mentioned that they were all prominently featured in Forbes magazine.
Yes, that is the facts. Now, this young lady off to the, I guess on your camera and on your screen, it might be
It's on my
uh,
left.
off to your left.
Yeah.
She's a fairly new introduction as far as the regular public knows. But the guy in the middle, that's Sam Bankman Fried. He was recently arrested for effectively securities fraud for creating money out of thin air and then ripping people off for real money in order to afford the invisible money, the air tokens, as he called them. And then, of course, there's Elizabeth Holmes on the other side. She's supposed to report to prison last week, and somehow she was able to get a reprieve so she can file an appeal and do all the things. And I guess it must be nice to be so pretty to not have to go to jail and a prison when everybody else would have. But
You
that's
gotta
her words. Those are
book
her
of
words, not
words.
mine.
I mean, yeah. I was gonna say she should take a chapter out of Martha Stewart's book. Martha Stewart did her
She
time.
should just get it over with, right?
She's more popular than ever.
Right, and we're talking a white collar crime
Yeah.
effectively. So she's probably going to go to a prison that allows her to make cupcakes the way that Martha Stewart did.
Hmm.
But this young lady on the other side, her name is Charlie, and I hope I'm saying it right because I actually got a pronunciation machine to tell me how to say her name, even though I listened to something like 30
Hmm.
YouTubers and news articles that had 5 or 6 different ways to say her
Really?
name. But the way I understand to say her name is Charlie Javice. And who is Charlie Javice? Tell us a little bit about Charlie, Joy.
Whew. Yeah, I mean, we're back for another scam, and like you said, they're never few and far between. But right here we have Charlie Javice, as you said. That's also how I've heard her name pronounced. Who is what many would consider before her infamous fall from grace, a burgeoning entrepreneur. She started this company in 2015 called Frank, and you can see it up there. It's supposed to demystify the financial aid process. And I don't know, how many folks out there have ever filled out a FAFSA, which you can see there, federal aid. I'm not even gonna try application for financial aid. That's what it is. It's a financial aid application, basically for federal, money to go to college.
For Pell Grants and things like
Yeah,
that.
right. And if you've ever filled it out, it's lots of data points. You got to collect your parents' taxes, their income. You got to have all these records. And really, what Charlie Javice wanted to do was simplify this process. So she claimed that instead of it taking, hours to fill out the FAFSA, collect, you could do it in a couple minutes, three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes with Frank. And so she started the company in 2015, and based on her idea, was eventually able to sell it to JP Morgan Chase in 2021 for $175 million. So, harkening back to our episode we did a couple weeks ago about Elizabeth Holmes, who also didn't sell her company, but was a burgeoning entrepreneur, had a lot of claim to fame, recognized by Forbes, and really what we're going to get to is ultimately turned out to be a fraud at the end of the day. So why was Frank fraudulent in and of itself? Oh, this is I'm shaking my head because I really can't wrap my head around it. So what Charlie Javice did, she again started this company called Frank in 2015, and of course, every entrepreneur's ultimate goal, I think, is to either sell the company for millions, billions of dollars, or to go public via IPO, and again making billions, millions of dollars from selling shares. Well, Charlie Javice ended up selling her company to JP Morgan in 2021, but here's the catch. It wasn't actually the company that she perpetuated it to be. So the numbers I saw was, she's talking to these investors and she's telling them we have all these millions of users. She went to JP Morgan saying, "Hey, this is a great company. I have 4 million users. I have 4 million users coming to my platform every day." And of course, JP Morgan's like, "Oh my God, so you're a sort of a financial services company in a way. You're not providing money, but you're providing." I think actually one of the notes I took was she said she helped in her pitches. She's helped 4 million students secure $7 billion in scholarships. So that was her pitch. Is I'm going to demystify the financial aid process. I'm going to be the Amazon of financial aid. I think she used like another term, like I'm going to be, what is it? The tax turbo of financial aid.
The turbo tax of financial aid.
Yeah. I'm going to make it really easy to fill out these financial aid forms. And I love that. That's great. But where she obviously messed up was it wasn't true. She didn't have 4 million users. At most, what she ever had was 300,000. I'll get back to the point that I was saying is like, I don't know. All these companies, they sell data all the time. Mm-hmm. And so from what I understand, JP Morgan was less interested in the product and more interested in her 4 million users who obviously had phone numbers and emails, like, so you sign up for something, you enter your email and you enter your phone number. JP Morgan's bottom line was, hey, great company, but really we want the contact information from these 4 million new college students, these 4 million, prospective
students. Because they would be customers for life if they could hit
of course. So, and that's ultimately how she was discovered. again, she sells the company to JP Morgan 2021 for $175 million. Tells JP Morgan she has 4 million users. Now, I'm sure people listening are asking, well, how did she fake 4 million users? Yeah. Or why did she want to is another question that maybe we can think about. Well, in her negotiations with JP Morgan, again, she's lying saying I have 4 million users when really she only had 300,000. During that negotiation period, she hires a data scientist, pays the guy $18,000 to fake 4 million profiles. So this is not only, like I was saying before, a first name and a last name, but in some cases an address, a fake phone number, and a fake email address. This is not easy. Like, this is...
Well, we're talking whatever the difference between, and I'm not doing the math, 300,000 and 4 million is.
Yeah, of course. So hires a data scientist, pays him $18,000 to fake 4 million users, and somehow is able to sell this to JP Morgan. And I think part of it is JP Morgan just didn't do their due diligence, which is one of the claims that Charlie Javice later brings
she made
up.
that claim. She also tried to put them off by claiming that she couldn't really give them the true data because it was private.
Right.
And she didn't want to give people's private data to JP Morgan Chase, but they're like, honey, we sent out XYZ. How many emails did they send out initially? And they all bounced back.
Yeah, it was like a 99% bounce back rate.
Yeah, and if any of those addresses were real, they should have pinged back a good at least 30% or whatever.
Right. I mean, especially if they're real, they're legitimate, interested like customers who are looking for financial backing or support in some kind of
financial tools, whether that be a credit card or some sort of loan or something. Yeah, they should have responded yes, no. But these emails bounced. They said, no, this doesn't exist. This address doesn't exist. You can't reach this person, so on and so forth.
So yeah, that's the crux of it, is Charlie Javice, and I do want to explore her background a little bit, was able to somehow fool one of the top banks in the world into believing that her company had more than 10 times the number of users that it actually did. Now, this is the part that I always, there's a common thread. Now, I haven't explored Sam Bankman-Fried's background, but I know that both his parents are high-powered attorneys. We also know that Elizabeth Holmes's father was an executive at Enron. And so we go to Charlie Javice now, and she also came from an affluent background where she was expected to succeed. And so her father worked for a hedge fund in Manhattan. She grew up in one of the most affluent communities in New York, Westchester County. Her brother, I didn't know this until I researched it, is currently the chief digital officer at Popeyes. So this family isn't, pull up by the bootstraps. When I see these kind of stories, people like Charlie Javice are expected to succeed. So she ends up, living her life, graduates from Wharton. I think it says she studied finance and law. So she graduated early, 3 years, also impressive. And not only before she graduates, so before she graduated from Wharton, she had already been an entrepreneur who had been recognized for what she did. I think I wrote it down. She had a company that she started in high school called Power Up. I think that's how you say it, Power Up.
Yeah.
.org. And I actually tried to go to the website. It seems to be shut down now, which I'm not surprised. But so she's always kind of expected herself to be an entrepreneur. Started this company, Power Up, got lots of acclaim for it. I think
because it was microloans, and microloans are designed to help like regular people who couldn't get normal loans through the bank.
That's exactly what it was. It was a microloan company, but not only was it a microloan company, but it was a microloan company that was supposedly supporting social justice movement, so social good. So I'm not just giving money to a person to start a private profit company that's going to
a good cause.
sell t-shirts. I'm starting this company to give to a good cause. So she sort of has this reputation of being, from high school up until 2021, up until 2022, really, when she gets sued, of being this highly skilled creative entrepreneur who is above and beyond smart, creative, intellectual, and is able to really start these businesses and excel them, sort of. So she has Power Up when she graduates from Wharton, and what year? I think actually I wrote here Frank was started in 2017. She has a bunch of companies that kind of change names and stuff, so it's hard to keep track. But she also started a company called Tapped. And I'm trying to remember what Tapped was. But Tapped, so it was a job search platform. And ultimately, it did not succeed. And so she saw that between the time of graduating from Wharton and starting Tapped, that, hey, actually, my Power Up didn't quite work and take off like I expected to. Now I've started Tapped. And it's okay, but I actually need more money for what I want to do, and the investors aren't there. So during this time where she's graduated from Wharton and has started this business, employees of the company say that they go periods of time without being paid. So not only does she have employees on the book, but they're not getting paid. And so eventually what she does is she says, I need to shift. This isn't working. I'm failing. She ends up firing almost 99% all of her employees at Tapped, some of which are her best friends. And she said in an interview that, yeah, I had to fire everybody. It was the worst day of my life. And some of them were my best friends, and they still don't talk to me to this day. So I'm kind of relating that back. What I'm getting is she wants to succeed. She wants to be the next Jeff Bezos, maybe even Elizabeth Holmes. She wants to be this entrepreneur who, takes Silicon Valley by storm. But it never seemed to work out. Power Up, offline now. Tapped, had a rebrand. Obviously, with Frank, it was all fraud. Now, I will say, Frank, it's a good idea. The financial aid process can be very difficult, but you were lying, baby girl, the whole time.
like you can take a good idea and you could have kept running with it, but you tried to sell it, and that's where the fraud happened. Because of course people need help filling out paperwork. Of course people need help finding resources to pay for school. I remember when I was in college, I used to have to go to like the college resource center and go through this big book to find a list of scholarships.
All the scholarship. I remember that they used to publish books yearly, and you have to look through like maybe state by state or year or like It was. I remember that too.
It was a pain in the butt.
Let's actually talk about what Charlie's charges are, because she actually has been charged. So after discovering her fraud, we talked about JP Morgan sends out these emails. They think they got 4 million new customers, and all the emails bounce back. And so JP Morgan's like, something ain't right. So they start doing their own investigations, and they ended up saying like, oh my God, the fraud, our bad. But one of the parts about the sale, so Charlie Javice sells the company $171 million, and she gets a job at JP Morgan as a managing director. So she's actually working at JP Morgan. Right. And like you said, she's there, and they're like, why is this all bouncing back? She's like, I don't know. And so eventually JP Morgan catches on, and they end up firing her for cause. And then
but did you so you didn't say the best part, the part that always gives the bad guy away.
What was that?
When they bought her company, they bought the servers.
They bought
the servers. So when they were digging to figure out what the heck was going on with all these emails not working, etc., they found a literal paper trail.
Oh, right. That's true.
Emails.
Wow, that's true. Right. There were emails
with the engineer why things were going wrong. So they have like a play-by-play.
Yes, that is a good point, Des. So while Javice is still at Frank, she's emailing the data scientist, literally telling him, I need you to fake this. I need you to come up with this. And then when JP Morgan gets all the data because they bought the company, there's the emails right there of
Mm-hmm.
Javice, plotting and scheming. And so JP Morgan
She should have used
is,
Slack like Sam Bankman-Fried liked. In
I
Slack, you
mean,
can delete those messages. It's true.
yeah, so JP Morgan ends up suing Javits for fraud.
Mm-hmm.
They sue her in 2022 for fraud. And the SEC also ends up charging
Yeah,
um,
she was arrested a few weeks
Javits
ago.
with fraud. And then, yes, the Manhattan DA, like you're saying, arrested her on April 4th, the same day that the SEC filed their charges for wire fraud. So, and she ended up bonding out on $2 million, Lordy. So yeah, she's in a mess of trouble. She's in a mess of trouble. The latest I saw is actually that she's in negotiations and it may take some kind of plea.
If she's smart, she'll do that because unlike Elizabeth Holmes, who had 13 years to raise all the money she
Mm-hmm.
had, uh, Charlie only got that influx and then lost it almost right away.
Right.
So I'm thinking she's probably going to plead out so that it costs her less in restitution than it would if she pays all these lawyers to go to court. That's
And
my
maybe
prediction.
if she pleads, especially with the Manhattan DA. So there's like 3 different cases here. There's one with
Mm-hmm.
JP Morgan, who they're suing civilly. SEC's
Right.
got some charges on her, and I'm not a financial regulation expert, so I'm not sure if the SEC charges are separate from the Manhattan DA.
They probably are because I know the SEC can sue.
Okay, okay, yeah. I
But
wasn't sure what kind of jurisdiction they have for, like, if they can actually file criminal charges. But yeah, so she's got
well,
really
because we're
3.
talking wire fraud, I'm sure there must be some sort of fines and stuff they can impose on her.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, you're right. It might end up being a fine. But I mean, I don't know where she's walking out of in this picture that you got up, but she
That
looks
is a
sad.
picture that I've seen on all the news stories about her coming out of the courtroom or whatever. So
Okay. Oh yeah,
she
okay.
went from, hold on a second. She went from this, where she was the poster child of an up and coming Silicon Valley entrepreneur, to this. That's not a good look, people. I mean,
I
if you
mean,
got a great idea for a company, work your company. If it's not ready, don't sell it. Don't be in a hurry. That's where all of these, Sam Bankman-Fried, Charlie Javice, not so much Elizabeth Holmes, but when you get in a hurry to get rid of your company or get rid of the stigma that your company's not lifting off the way you want it to, and you take bold steps, sometimes those bold steps could be like the dagger in the heart of your business. So it's probably best to like lay low until you got everything covered.
exactly. And during the research, one of the things I found out, and I think her and Elizabeth Holmes have this in common, is they have this fake it till you make it mentality.
Yes.
Um, During early investor calls for Frank, Javits would say, like, I have thousands of users and didn't even have a working product yet.
Oh, wow.
And
That sounds a lot like Elizabeth Holmes.
yeah, her staff and employees would be sitting in these calls and be like, we can't do this. This is unethical. We don't have a product. And she's like, nah, we're doing this anyway. And so this whole like fake it till you make it mentality, I don't know where, like, is it a certain kind of privilege where you think like you're supposed to succeed? And
Well,
so
I'm
you're
sure
gonna
it
do
has to do,
everything to do
you've
it.
heard of manifesting, right? You've heard of
Yeah,
manifesting.
I believe in manifesting.
If you believe it, it can happen. And I think that's part of it, right? If you keep believing positively that things will come out the way you plan them to or that you expect them to, eventually they will. The problem comes in is a true manifestation of your dreams or whatever requires due diligence. It requires structure. It requires a plan to get from point A to point B. You don't drive your car without putting gas in it and hope it's going to get 20 miles. You go, okay, I'm starting my car. I'm pulling it in reverse to pull out of my drive. I'm driving down the street. Now I need to go 20 miles. How am I going to get there? Oh, I'm going to put gas in my car. That's how you manifest some success to your destination. You don't just hope for the best. And that's what that's what Elizabeth Holmes did, and that's what it looks like Charlie did.
In Charlie's case, instead of filling the car with gas, she filled it up with water and said, "Hey, here's a full tank."
It's full. The tank is full. I don't know what to tell you.
You know, like how the rental car, you get it full and you think you're about to go, but it's actually full with water. That is what I feel like Charlie. Yeah, that is like the perfect metaphor. I feel like she just. And so, like I was saying, she is supposedly in negotiations and plea deal talks with I assume various parties, multiple parties, to try to get herself out of this situation. And
well, I'm sure
I
she's
don't
seen
know.
what happened to Elizabeth Holmes. Now, Elizabeth Holmes thinks that she can get a better deal if she can get another trial, and she might be right. But I think Charlie also sees the writing on the wall. People aren't putting up with it anymore.
You're right. Essentially,
that's why I believe she's going to plead out.
You're exactly right. I do feel like also like what you're saying is like they're trying to get these fraudsters, these white collar fraudsters out of here, especially these young entrepreneurs who have this fake it till you make it mentality, or are selling people pipe dreams that like don't actually exist, selling products that haven't even been made yet. Like that is what, I'll be honest though, that is what Silicon Valley has bred. Like you don't actually like how many years did we talk about Amazon not being profitable, but still being one of the biggest companies in the world? How many years? Like, how many years have we talked about Uber and like these companies not being profitable, but they're billions of dollars in like WeWork, billions of dollars in investments, but like a really faulty business plan.
Yeah, but there's still that fake it till you make it mentality. Now Uber managed to, come out in the end. WeWorks is surviving, but that's because they got rid of their original founder. And Amazon, Jeff Bezos is living his best life because we like quick junk. I mean, so it does eventually work out if you have an actual product that people actually want. People do want financial security, but if you don't have enough customers to sell to another organization, then sell them what you have or bow out. You don't need them. I mean, and we're not talking that she was some little poor college kid trying to make college loan payments and she just really needed that payment. She came from an influential family. So she could have waited another few years till she got the right numbers. But the fact that she jumped on to JP Morgan Chase as an employee tells me that she actually saw that her product probably wasn't going to last for very long. It wasn't going to bring in the money she needed.
What kind of gall do you have to accept a job as a managing director at JP Morgan Chase, knowing that you sold them a faulty product?
Exactly.
Like,
it's like hanging out with somebody who you've sold a piece of crap car to. That you sold the car to that had water in it. Oh, hey man, listen, this is the best Escort you'll ever drive.
It's not funny, but it's just it's so crazy that you have to laugh because how does that? But it's because JP Morgan, actually Charlie Javice is countersuing JP Morgan, saying she got fired. She was basically scapegoated, and JP Morgan didn't do their due diligence.
Right, because
blaming JP Morgan for not doing their due diligence. I love that.
Well, if JP Morgan had actually studied her analytics before giving her a dime, they would have known that she didn't have 4 million in
she
traffic.
Might have a case. I'll be honest. Like, yes, she did fake these emails, but JP Morgan still bought it. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I'm not a legal expert, but like, where is JP Morgan's responsibility to do their own due diligence to ensure that not being defrauded? But of course, I'm not like a scammer is a scammer. Like people get scammed every day. They do their due diligence. They still get scammed. So I'm sorry, Charlie Javice. I don't have any sympathy for you.
Yeah, I don't have any sympathy either.
Because
but I do have one last thing to say before we go. I'm not sure if you can see this, but
yeah. Oh yeah. I call him Baby Yoda.
May the 4th be with you for those who observe.
Of course. May the 4th be with you. We're here that day.
But wow. So these scammers just don't stop. And you know what? And who do you think we should cover next?
Well, I don't know. We have Sam Bankman-Fried there.
And I've already done kind of a rundown of him, so we can do a YouTube on him if you like, because I've got most of my data still.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I
a
saw a
really
couple Clubhouse
interesting.
rooms about them. You you love the crypto scams, Days.
I do, and I actually diving into Sam Bankman-Fried, I learned a lot
Hmm.
that now my brain will never forgive me
Yeah,
for.
I know. Yeah, I'm a crypto enthusiast. I used to work for a crypto company as a writer, and so yeah, I'll be in it. I don't think it's all bad, but we do have a bunch of scammers in the industry that
Oh
need to be
yeah,
regulated.
it needs to. So do you think it needs to be regulated?
For sure. The part about cryptocurrency is that it's not regulated, it's decentralized. But
Hmm.
in order for mass adoption, I think there are some aspects of it that do need to be regulated.
Right, because it's not quite
Yeah,
mainstream
so
right
let's do
now.
Sam
Yeah,
Bankman
so let's
Fried.
do Sam Bankman-Fried because he's a hot topic right
Okay.
now. And keep in mind, of the three people in this picture, only one of them is a convicted felon right now. The other two are merely charged, so
Yeah.
they are innocent until proven guilty. With that said, I'm going to say peace out to Joy. Thank you for joining me.
So much
Where do you
fun.
want to be found, Joy? Where can we
Twitter,
find you?
Geek JT, GeekNikJT, and then on Clubhouse, same name.
All right, and I'm Des Hickson. You can find me here as Des Hickson or the Laundry Diva on pretty much any social network, or Dizzy Desi 2010 on Twitter. Um, and without further ado, I will bid you farewell and good night, and we will see you in 2 more weeks
Yeah.
where we will do a Sam room. All right, so bring your
Yeah.
crypto hats and your crypto questions, and
Yeah.
we will we'll do our best to answer them. In the meantime, we're gonna play ourselves out, and I will say thank you to Joy for hanging out
Yes.
with me,
Love it.
and we're gonna just play the outro here. Well, I thought I was. There we go.